Hi Humane Letters families. I wanted to take a brief minute to quickly go over the TMS history guide. I think most of you are doing great and you've figured out a routine and a plan that works for your family, but there have been a few questions in class about what the weekly readings are and how to use the guide. So I just want to clarify before we get too far into the year and you may find that you're totally off track. So I wanted to bring your attention to, and we're looking at this current week. So we finished, today's Monday. I finished wrapping up the colonies, the southern colonies with your children. And now we are moving on to the 30 Years' War and the English Civil Wars. So I want you to notice that in the date, in the upper right-hand corner of each of the history guide pages, there's this date. This date says 10/8/18. Obviously today is not October 18th or 8th, it is October 1st. So this date in the corner corresponds with a due date of sorts, which means next week in class on October 8th, Mrs. McDonald and I will be covering the 30 Years' War and the English Civil Wars in class. So we're hoping that your students will have done the reading and done the preparation that you've selected from this guide in order to participate in our discussion and our activities. I know that this is something that's kind of been a little bit confusing for people. Some people thought that that represented the week because it's a Monday, but it does not represent the week of October 8th. It's actually the date that this reading is, for lack of a better term, due. So if it helps you, you can go through the guide like what we used to have on previous Humane Letters syllabi, where it actually used the word due date. If that helps you to go through the guide and just write the word due in front of that, go right ahead, whatever works. But this date for the week, where it says week 7, you'll notice that that is off from the calendar a little bit. This guide was written more for the teachers in mind when it came to class time. This is what we are to cover in class with regards to the dates. So that's why there's a week up there that does not match what you'll find if you go by my calendar or Mrs. McDonald's calendar, where it says what week we're on in Humane Letters. It's off by 1 week. So, but that's basically our 7th day of class, or which will be our 7th week of class. We're covering this information. But really, you just need to focus on the date and consider it a due date. It's filled with a lot of different information that's meant to serve you. We certainly cannot cover it in a approximately 90-minute class time. We just can't get into everything. So you are free to pick and choose as much from that guide as you can tackle or want to tackle, and it's okay to omit the rest or to save it for another time when you have more flexibility in your week. But I wanted to also make sure that everyone knew that the two texts that we are using in class to govern or to guide our discussions are the History of Us, different volumes. So we're currently on volume 2, but we'll be moving into the next volume over the next few months. And we've got Story of the World, volume 3. So this is what Mrs. McDonald and I are reading as we prepare our lessons for your kiddos in class. We're going by the information in here. But again, you totally do not have to read these two texts. You can pick something else that works for your family. If there's one that you feel works better and is more cohesive with the rest of your children, go for that. The only thing we really would like is for you to try your hardest to stick with the topic so that your kids can participate and glean and get the most out of our discussions and our activities. That's really what's going to serve them the best in the long run in terms of all the learning that they'll do this year. And there's one more thing I just wanted to touch base. I know most of you are aware of the HRJs. This is actually my younger daughter who is in 2nd grade, but my 4th grader has an HRJ as well, as should all of your kids. But we really do rely on these heavily in class. So there are journal prompts that are provided on the syllabus each week for things that your student can write and respond to. They do not have to use that prompt. That's there as a help. It's a guide for you because we know that you're not always doing all of the reading, or you may not be aware of what what key ideas we're wanting to pull from text. So we provide that for you, but we want you to know that there's flexibility for you to use those HRJs at home however you can. So if it's for note-taking while you're reading out loud, if it's to do a web afterwards and record key ideas, if you have a journal question that you would like to ask your students, go for it. We're hoping that that's just going to be a way that they can keep all of their information in one place. And you've probably already noticed that we use them pretty much weekly in class. So the idea kind of came from not wanting to open up my children's backpack at the end of a Monday and finding crumpled papers in the bottom that I knew were valuable and useful tools for them to help remember the events that they were learning. So if they glue some of the things we do in class right into their notebook, then it assures that it gets home for you to see, and it's a place that they can look back and try to remember what we've learned this year. But for those of you with lower grammar kids, I think one of the biggest questions is how to bridge the gap between the upper grammar and the dialectic students and then the lower grammar kids. And one of the things that we've done is to just give our second grader a history notebook just like her sister. And Mrs. Hinesley and Mrs. McNary have done an incredible job writing chants that go with each of the history topics. The history topics should pretty much be consistent with what we're doing in upper grammar. So I know with Mrs. Hinesley's updates, she sends out the history chant for parents to have. And every Monday night, I take that chant and I type it up. I just copy and paste it out of her email. And then if there's something particular I want my daughter to learn or remember from that, I might put a few questions at the bottom. Sometimes I just do copy work. Other times I might have her draw a picture. So here's the one of Plymouth and the Pilgrims coming on the Mayflower, and she just had to answer a few important questions and then draw pictures of what she wanted to take with her on the Mayflower. So this is just an idea. She's got another one in here for what is a colony, but if you're looking for a way to take what you've been reading and make it applicable for your younger kiddos, take those chants and turn them into copy work. They will greatly enjoy looking back over these. I've watched my daughter go back and sing all of them over the course of the year. And they can also do things like make a web. When you do that with your older students, they're going to need help a little bit more, but I think giving them a place that they feel like they're kind of like their older sibling and a place where they can record things is a great way to help enhance what they're reading. So I hope that this helps. If you all have more questions, please shoot them my way. I'm happy to give further explanation, but for now I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page when it came to interpreting the guide. Make sure that you are reading the right things. All right, take care, good night.